Hey guys, Justin Rivas here, special edition of Just Shoot. We're going to take a look at a number of photographs from a maternity shoot that I did, and hopefully we can learn some things together. I was really charged about the way that these photos turned out. First time ever attempting something like this, but all my practice getting out there, shooting other things has helped me to be able to put together something that I'm really proud of in the end. And so we're going to jump into the photos, take a look at that, but just 5 quick tips of things I did before. If you're thinking about doing a maternity shoot or shooting with clients or people, these are things to remember. Number 1, charge your batteries the night before and lay out all your gear. Make sure you're not missing anything. I was missing a memory card, ended up finding a replacement, but let's say it's on a Sunday or something and you go to shoot and you realize you forgot something, maybe the store's closed, you can't get there. Do it the night before, maybe even the day before, to make sure you have everything. That's number 1. Number 2, go and scout the location beforehand. Even in my case, I just went there half an hour before. I had an idea, I'd been to this park before, but I wanted to actually visualize some shots, go there, get set up, so that I was able to kind of lead these people around. These people, it's actually my brother and sister-in-law, but I want to act professional when I'm out there and doing this. And so by having an idea of what you're going to do and say, okay, we're going to go here and then we're going to go here, doesn't mean you can't ad-lib a little, but it's going to help you get set up. Number 3, get an idea of your settings beforehand, meaning take a bunch of test shots. In my case, I'm shooting in full manual, and so I want to make sure that I know exactly, that I've got the right shutter speed for sunlight, and for the shadows, it's going to vary a little bit, but have a general idea of what my ISO and my aperture settings are going to be at. So when they show up, we can just start shooting, and I'm not sitting there firing a whole bunch of test shots trying to get things figured out. Obviously going to change a little bit when you get people in there, but have a general idea. Number 4, do a little bit of homework for the kind of shots that you want to do. In the case of maternity shots, I went and looked at a few things beforehand and actually saw a lot of things that I didn't want to do, where they felt cheesy or awkward, and it just kind of gave me a better sense of, hey, I just want to tell a story, do it in my style, do it in a way that I feel comfortable. But by doing a little bit of homework, I had some idea for a few shots that I wanted to do, and then a bunch of things that I didn't want to do. But it really helped me out. Number 5, if you're doing a maternity shoot, ask your clients to practice posing or holding each other before. I've seen some where people just look so awkward because it's probably the first time that they've actually come up behind and held their belly and had the other person turn around and look at them, and it just doesn't feel natural. In this case, my brother and his wife, they were great sports about this, and they just went and did I think a few practices before, and it came off really natural and they were having fun at the shoot. So 5 quick tips. Let's jump into the photos. So here is the first photo, and what can I say? I think it's a pretty good photo. And again, they're just making eye contact, hanging out there. Some things that I've been learning recently is just about composition and how images generally are more interesting when you push people off to the side of the image. And so I just push them off to the side of the image. Now, in this case, I think my focus is actually off a tiny little bit. I bet if I zoom in here, yeah, she's not quite sharp and he's not quite sharp, but her boot is very sharp. And so I think I was probably focused on him and it came out, yeah, his arm sharp. So I didn't nail the focus, but it was pretty close. This lens can go down a little bit more to 2.8. I was at f3.2. I probably could have been at 3.5 again to try and keep them both a little bit more in focus, but decent shot. The other thing I did was get a little bit lower. Hey, quick tip. So many people are taking shots these days on their cell phones, and everything's kind of looking like snapshots. But if you want to differentiate yourself, don't shoot at your natural standing height. That's kind of how we see so many photographs, and it loses its interest. Either get down low or get up high. And I spent a lot of time on this photo shoot, either on my belly or crouched low, just kind of give a little bit of a different perspective. But here's one of the images. Moving on. Okay, here's a second one. So again, I scouted the location beforehand and I had seen this tree here and I thought, hey, this is fun. I want to kind of play with this thing sticking out. So I put them under the tree. I wish it maybe would have filled the frame a little bit more, but it ended up being a nice shot. You can see that she has a belly and she's pregnant, and so that's a good part of it. But again, it's an interesting shot and I'm trying to tell a story. So I like the way that one turned out. I don't know if there's anything too interesting about the settings here that I'll talk about. It's a really fast shutter speed because the light was so bright out in direct sunlight on a beautiful day. Okay, so here's another one. Again, just another take on a similar composition, but before on the tree they were standing on this side, then I put them out here and opened it up to the field. You'll see with the editing, maybe a quick note on editing is establish your own style editing. Editing is a huge part of photography these days, and it kind of helps you put your stamp on what you really like and what your style is, and don't try and be all things to all people. Pick something that you like and are passionate about and think is a good quality product. There'll be some people who won't like your editing style, and yeah, maybe if you're trying to be a professional, you might miss out on some jobs, or if you just like it for the creativity, some people may not like your work, but the more people that don't like your work, the more people that are going to hopefully love your work. Because if you're just mediocre, everybody goes, not bad, not that great, you know, but kind of good. Whereas if you're a little bit edgy, some people are going to say, I really like your style. Some people are saying, I don't really like your style. But that's okay, because you're going to have a group that really likes your style and you're going to have more fun. But you need to edit your images, add a little bit of personality. In this case, you know, I hit the sky pretty hard and I made this tree kind of light up like this. And yeah, I don't know, some people might say it's not supernatural, but I like the way it has the sun kind of drawing you into them down here. You can see the shadow and just kind of boom, just pulls you in. So I like that. Again, composition, I've kind of thrown them off to one side. I think this is a striking image. Next up, again, we're telling a story, and so every photo doesn't have to be the couple together in focus. So again, I'm using aperture. I'm even at 3.5. I could have been lower. I'm shooting with a 50 millimeter here that can go all the way down to 1.4. So, but this way it kind of kept him in focus, put her out of focus, and it's just part of the story. And the way he's making eye contact is nice. You can tell she's making eye contact, but you're drawn into him right here. Okay, next up. So this is a maternity shot. But again, it's not too awkward, I don't feel like, because I think that they practiced and just the angle of it is nice. You can definitely see the belly and they're holding. Maybe it's a little bit cliche, but again, as part of the story, we are trying to tell that there's a baby inside of here, and it's important. Again, I've put them off to one side, lined them up, cut out their heads, but I didn't cut them off at too awkward of a spot. Maybe this chest area is a little bit awkward, but I didn't want to run through this belt here. And if you're going to cut appendages, cut in the middle of the shins or the middle of the thighs, not right at the knees, not right at the feet, and that'll help kind of keep nicer images. So in this case, I think that looked pretty good. Okay, next up here, again, nice eye contact. Hey, quick tip, if you're on a shoot like this and you have two people, especially if it's kind of romantic, whether it's engagement or maternity, is have them shuffle out who they're looking at. I guess I would say to my brother Ben, I would say, okay, Ben, look at me. Kristen, look at Ben. Okay, Ben, look at Kristen. Kristen, look at me. Okay, both look at me. Okay, Ben, look at Kristen. Kristen, look off into the distance. You can kind of cycle through that, and you'll end up in some of these images that, wow, that one looks really cool, or give you some variety. Especially, you'll see, I see a lot of people where they deliver images, a color version and a black and white, but they're exactly the same image. I think it's nice to be able to have a slight variation, even if it's in how, hey, in this color image, they're both looking at each other, and in the black and white, one's looking at the person's making eye contact with the camera. It just helps feel like you're not just delivering, two versions of each image. It adds a little bit of interest. So anyway, that's a quick tip there. I've zoomed in here pretty far, 170 millimeters, so I'm zoomed in a long ways and running the lowest aperture possible because I just wanted to blur out the whole background, make the subject right here. Again, they're holding each other. You can see what the story is. These guys were pretty natural about posing themselves. I didn't specifically tell them to do this. They were just good, but I just let them interact and snap photos. And having a longer zoom lens means you can kind of be a little bit further away and not quite as much in their space, which I think is handy sometimes. So next image. Okay, so in this case, this right here, this blurry bit, if you haven't figured it out, that is grass. And so I was laying down in the grass and just trying to catch a shot where, I framed it a little bit different. Some people may hate this, that's fine. I thought it was kind of interesting in the way that it, helped kind of bring a little bit more attention. They're kind of standing out here. It's maybe a little bit like them being in a field, but it's grass. It's what I had to work with. I've left a stray hair right here. I wonder if you can see that. But overall, again, kind of cycling through, okay, Kristen, look out in the distance, Ben, look at Kristen. Just help give, a difference of shots. If all of your shots are of them both looking at the camera or both looking at each other, it's not the same. You can add a little bit more interest here by shuffling them in and out. So I think this ended up being a nice image. Okay, again, part of the story, these guys were having lots of fun. There's more goofy shots in here that I delivered to them, but I feel like this is fun, but you can tell that they really like each other, and that's important. Part of the story, again, I'm a little bit higher here, f3.5. If I'd been too low, meaning I had a wide open aperture, one of them would be out of focus, but I'm running a little bit higher. Hey, one of the things that I did, and you may be in the same thing, is when you buy like your first good piece of glass, which for me, this was it, a zoom that could do 2.8 through the whole range. I always wanted to be at 2.8 because I felt like I was getting the most out of the lens. But I think one of the first steps you need to do moving on is understand you don't always have to run the lowest aperture. It's really about what am I trying to accomplish in the shot. And in the case of this shot, I wanted to keep both faces in focus. So I just dialed it up a little bit, to be able to do that. So once you do start investing, and if you buy that 50 millimeter 1.8 that I recommend is the first lens that you buy, or in my case I have a 51.4, you have to be so careful with that because you can put a lot of things out of focus that you don't want out of focus. But anyway, that's a quick tip for there. And again, just kind of an interesting shot. Next up, okay, so first thing I'll criticize myself in this case, this image was definitely overexposed, meaning it was too bright. I was at 1/500th of a second. I probably could have been at like 1/1250th of a second, maybe even higher than that. I did bring it down in post. I'm shooting all of these in RAW. That gives you so much more flexibility of what you can do with the light afterwards, but that's a minor thing. But as far as composition-wise, you see how I'm using the road here to lead you into them. Anytime you have lines or you have pillars or natural frames, it's always great to try and use that. Again, you're trying to tell the story and trying to set people up for what you want them to look at. In this case, this is a bike path. Oh, zoomed in there. This was a bike path that I wanted to use to lead you into these guys, and so I set them up on there. Again, I'm nice and low. I'm crouched so that it kind of helps, kind of blurring this out and giving an interesting perspective. If I'd been standing up, it'd feel a lot more like a snapshot. Again, I'm giving myself a little more forgiveness. I could have been at 2.8, blurred the background a little bit more, but I didn't want to lose them too much in that shot. And I'm zoomed in, as far as I could be, and I like the shot. Okay, so again, we're telling a story, and in this case, do you know that she's pregnant? No. Now, this isn't just one image, it's part of a bigger story. And so I guess as photographers, everything that I've read and watched and believe in is we're trying to tell stories. And for me, this is what I'm passionate about, and even why I'm doing this YouTube channel. So I want people to capture moments and have those moments. These are special moments, especially even if you're just taking pictures of your family. Better photos help you relive the memories of things. And for me, we have a 3-year-old. We're foster parents, and we're just in the final stages of adopting him. I'm so excited to share those images once that's finalized. But there's so many things where I look back, both good and tough memories, but are captured. And when they're just cheap shots of my cell phone, I don't get the emotion of when I look at these great photographs and I go, oh, I remember that time of life. And that's really important. So again, we're storytellers. Tell stories. And remember, you have multiple images to tell a story if you're doing something like this. So in this case, I'm trying to tell the story of these two together. They've been married 10 years, I think. And they've been through a lot, but they're together. This is an amazing, amazing story. I can't go into all the details, but I love this photo because it just captures the moment of these guys together doing life. So it was just something different. I put them up on a hill, had them walk towards me, away from me a couple of times, and just snap the shots both ways. And I really, really like this image. Again, this is just another perspective of that. They're coming towards me. You do want to be in, set your focus to continuous focus mode, and if you have 3D, you may have to go watch another video. I'll do one on this sometime about what that actually means, or check your menu. But if you're in single point, what'll happen is you'll lock focus and then they'll take a step forward and they'll be out of focus. So you need something that's tracking them as they're coming towards you. 3D is really good with that. If you don't have that continuous, we'll at least give you a shot. Do that. But again, do you see how in all my compositions I'm pushing them off to the side? It's just not really as interesting when they're in the middle, or in my opinion, maybe that's my style. But if you're try that out. See if you like it when you push them off to one side. Another one. Okay, so we're getting into some of the creative images, and this one could be my favorite, or it might be the next one that is my favorite, but this is a case where I'm using aperture to do something that I want to do, which is have these things right here in focus and them way out of focus. Now, if you're just rolling with your kit lens, like an 18 to 55, 3.5 to 5.6, or maybe an 18 to 105, you can't get this shot because your lens can't do the aperture to blow out the background, blur out the background, give you this depth of field. Now again, I have a video, I'll throw a link up somewhere up here to the first lens you should buy is a 51.8, relatively inexpensive lens, but they'll help you do kind of creative shots like this where you can lock your focus right here on these little moccasins and you can blur out the background. The other thing I did was I was just experimenting with throwing my camera into the sun, letting the sun hit the lens and give me some kind of cool lens flare and wash them out in a way. And I really like the way that this kind of tells the story and doesn't feel too cliche or too weird. So I like that one. This is another one, again, I really love. I'm at f1.8, so with those cheaper lenses you could all do that. I could drop a little bit more, but especially with full frame cameras, if I'm at 1.4, it's like this hair could be in focus and the little brown part back here could be out of focus. So it can be dangerous, even in this case, on the sides here, this is out of focus, but again, I really like the way that it kind of just draws you into the shot and is super cool. And I think that might be the end of my images. So there you have it. I'm pretty pumped about the way that these turned out. My goal was to deliver 20 great images. I would have settled for 10 though. I would have gone, okay, that is what it is. But in the end, I ended up with about 50 images. I think I sent them 42 after I trimmed down a few more. So I'm pretty excited about having that number. 42 what I feel were like really nice images. Probably another 40 that I was going, hey, these aren't bad. These are pretty good. Now, the only reason I was able to do this on my first attempt is because I've been putting myself out there and shooting lots of different things. I've put in thousands and thousands of shutter counts over the last kind of 6 to 9 months. So any practice in any area is going to help you in another area. Also, watching videos like this, not just from me, Frono's photo, that's been kind of a huge inspiration for me. If you can handle a guy with a big fro, he's a great resource. There's so many good ones out there. Read blogs, be a study, but get out there and practice. And you'll have a good shot at doing some awesome things and always improving your skills, telling great stories. But that's what I have for you today. Thank you, thank you, thank you for watching. I really appreciate you guys. I just want to help people learn and join in on my journey. If you have any questions at all, maybe more technical or about really anything that I can help you, drop a comment below. Subscribe to my channel, like the video, help me get these things out there. But I'm Justin Rivas. Thank you for watching.